Wingman Joker, thank you for listening to this channel and please support the channel. Please subscribe. Chapter 11. IQ Test. This way, Dr. Thomas. Donald quickly guided an old man toward his father's office. Although Donald was not informed of the reason why he was asked to escort the doctor here, he was pretty sure that this was one of his father's last-ditch efforts to give Adrian a few more points in the assessment. In the last test, Adrian's IQ was abysmal, so they needed a new test to correct that. Dr. Thomas was an old friend of his father and they must have arranged something. Soon they reached the office, and Donald knocked on the door. "Come in," Maverick said, allowing them both to walk inside. The first thing Donald noticed was that his father was sitting at his grand desk, fully engrossed in some kind of a document, and that Adrian was napping on the couch, with his legs stretched over his father's magical wood coffee table. Just like some hooligan. Damn it, his father would never allow him to act like that in the office. "Maverick," Thomas exclaimed as soon as he walked in and allowed Maverick, who closed the document and stood up, to walk toward him. They shook hands hard and then hugged each other with one arm. The two were really close friends as they walked toward the couches. "It's been a while," Maverick said as he dragged Thomas to take a seat next to Adrian, who slowly sat up and then began to yawn as he stretched his arms. It was as if he didn't get much sleep last night. "Yes. Is this Adrian?" Thomas asked, examining Adrian. "He sure has grown up." "Yes, the last time you saw him was 5 years ago," Maverick said. "Adrian, great Dr. Tomas." He scolded lightly. "Ah, sorry, I was just too sleepy. I am glad to meet you again, doctor." Adrian stood and bowed politely. "It is okay, you don't need to be this formal." Thomas didn't mind. "I think we should start with the test. You must be in a hurry," Thomas asked Maverick. "Ah, well, something might have changed." Maverick paused. "Let's go on with it since you are here anyway. You no longer need to go on with the plan though, just a regular test will suffice," Maverick explained. "What, really?" Thomas exclaimed, making Donald frown. What did his father mean? "Yup," Maverick chuckled. "We will see what the tests will say," Thomas said, setting his bag on the table while observing Adrian. As the doctor who had been checking on him for the last few years, he was not convinced. "Okay then," Maverick said. "Donald, go out, close the door and no one is allowed to disturb us until it is time for the assessment." Maverick suddenly said. "Ah, father, can I stay and watch? I can be a witness." Donald said. He really wanted to see what his father was planning. Quote. Maverick frowned. "As long as he sits a little far away, it wouldn't hurt," Thomas said. Donald was very polite to him all the way and he had a good impression of him. "The session has to be recorded anyway," he added as he took out a recording crystal from his bag. Maverick frowned and looked at Adrian. If he didn't want Donald here, he would kick him out. "I don't mind," Adrian shrugged. "As long as he doesn't fart and distract me. His farts were really smelly when we were kids." "You, quote. Donald," Maverick said. "Sorry," Donald said as he stepped back. Squeezing his fist. "That damn Adrian and his foul mouth. Just wait. Find a seat and stay silent," Maverick said as he also returned to his desk. "You may begin," he told Thomas. "Now, young Master Adrian," Thomas said in a professional voice as he started the recording crystal. "This is the standard IQ and psychology test for family heirs. It will overwrite any previous results, be it good or bad. Do you approve of taking it?" "Yes," Adrian nodded. "Good, the test will be in several parts. We will start with an IQ test to examine your magical solving abilities. Please answer the 100 questions on this paper. You have 60 minutes, the faster you do it the better," Thomas said, putting a sealed folder and a pencil in front of Adrian. "You may start." Adrian nodded, opening the folder and letting it shine with a blue light before taking the papers from inside of it and then beginning to work through them. Donald watched as Adrian checked random boxes here and there in a fast order. He didn't even seem to be reading the questions, only glancing at them. Well, this was way better than the first test he took years ago. It was rumored that he ate the paper there. He seemed to have improved a lot. At least he learned the concept of randomly checking boxes. Adrian finished 11 minutes later. "Done," Adrian said, yawning as he stretched his fatigued hand. "Let me see," Thomas said, taking the paper, and exposing it to the recording crystal before beginning to mark it. It took him 5 minutes before he looked up in shock at Adrian, then at Maverick, then looked back down at the exam paper that he signed and then put in a folder before sealing it. "Perfect, let's continue with the second test then," he said. Donald, who watched from the side, frowned. What did he mean by perfect? Perfect 0. Although he could predict Adrian's results, he really wanted to look at that paper. Still, he didn't dare to ask as the results were usually confidential, only the assessment committee would be allowed to take a look. What should I do next? Adrian asked. Let me test your meridians. Thomas said, taking a blue-colored stone. Please touch this. Adrian nodded and touched it. It shone with a white light that had colorful fringes. It changed several times as it did its scanning. Donald also underwent something like that as a kid, but he had no idea what this meant. Oh, I see. Although far better than the previous time, they seem to be quite damaged. Thomas said with a frown, writing something on a piece of paper as he talked. Better. Donald frowned. Could it be that Adrian could use magic again? It is all thanks to all the elixirs the Tower Master gave me before. Adrian said, making Thomas nod and Donald squeeze his fist. Damn waste of money. Those elixirs should have been his. Oh, Thomas nodded, noting Maverick's smirk. He quickly finished the second report and put it in a sealed folder too. Let's move on to the next test then. What should I do? Adrian asked. Just relax in your seat and look at those cards one by one. You must tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Remember that you are being recorded and your vital signs are monitored. If you lie, such things might be easily exposed later. Ah, I know. Adrian, who seemed a little nervous, nodded. Donald knew about this test. It was meant to screen out dangerous criminals and psychopaths before they learn magic. Getting ready, Dr. Thomas opened a sealed envelope in front of the recording crystal. Again a blue light flashed. It was proof that this envelope had never been opened before to avoid cheating. What do you see here? Thomas began, showing Adrian a card with 2 blobs of ink. Boobs, Adrian answered directly, making Maverick, who seemed to have returned to reading the document he was engrossed in, look up again and glare at his son, then at the card. True, they did look like boobs. Donald, who took a look from the side, also agreed. Let's try the next one. Try to elaborate and not just answer with one word. Thomas said. Okay, well, a naked woman taking a shower under the sunset. Donald didn't have any idea how Adrian saw this one. Here, Thomas ignored everything and professionally continued. A naked lady showing off in front of an honest man. This one. A young lady, with a egg. Adrian said while stuttering. It was as if fighting himself inside or something. Quote. How about this one? Thomas quickly flipped to the next one with a dark face. A hooker in the street smoking big cigars. Adrian answered directly this time. No, sorry, those are not cigars. This one. A woman cuckolding her husband in front of her father-in-law. Next. My mother. Adrian exclaimed. Quote. Thomas wanted to tell him to elaborate, as seeing one's mother is completely natural in these magical cards. But feeling Maverick's eyes burning holes in him, he decided to quickly flip to the next one. A broke-ass prostitute, Adrian said. Literally. Quote. Next. Thomas interrupted before Adrian could elaborate. A pimp on a bicycle riding on the clouds. How can you tell he is a pimp exactly? Thomas couldn't help asking. That striped suit can only be worn by a pimp, and he only deals in cash. Adrian exclaimed, making everyone look at the chaotic ink splotches on the card. Where the hell did he see all of that? Quote. Just like that, after an agonizing 15 minutes, the test was over. Donald was now sure. His brother was not only an idiot, but also a pervert. The only thing that severely annoyed him was that his father's eyes, when looking at Adrian, were not of an ashamed father, but a proud one. All during the test, they kept getting brighter and brighter. With that, we finished the test. Thomas finally declared as put everything in a box and sealed it before stopping the recording. At last, Adrian exclaimed as he relaxed. That was hard as fuck, he said, making Donald almost go and kick his ass. Hard my ass. He should have been the one saying that. It was as if he was blindfolded and hearing someone else watch porn and comment on it. Thank you, Thomas, sorry for taking some of your time, Maverick said as Thomas placed the test box on his desk, next to a sealed report. It is my duty as your friend. Although Adrian is far better than before, the assessment would still be hard. Hopefully, this will help, he said, making Donald frown. It will, Maverick said with a nod. Tell Zemar I said hello, he said as he turned and prepared to leave. I will, we will visit you after all of this is over to express our thanks, Maverick said as he stood up. Ha ha, I will be preparing the magical chessboard then, Thomas said as he walked toward the door. Donald, go guide, Dr. Thomas, Maverick said, making Donald, who didn't understand what they were talking about, not then quickly help the doctor open the door before following him out. Ellipsis. Did you have to act as a pervert? Maverick asked Adrian as soon as the door was closed. Sorry, those were my real thoughts. I have to tell the truth in this test after all. I am still a virgin, you know. Adrian declared. Whenever he looked at one of the cards earlier, many choices began to appear in his mind. They ranged from lame things to some very dangerous thoughts. Not wanting to appear inconsistent, he decided to act as a pervert like any young man. And it is not a bad thing to have a weak point or two, or those elders would really fear me. Good points, Maverick sighed. He really needed to get his son laid very soon. With a monstrous achievement like the new Zero Circuit, you will really need something to make you more of a human, he said, looking at the document that he had just finished reading. Yup, are you sure this will work as intended? Maverick asked. Although he reread it 3 times and didn't find any mistakes in it, he didn't have much time to fully test it. Such things would usually take months. However, if this magical circuit was for real, it would change everything. Everything. It is. I am prepared to bet my life on it, Adrian said with a confident tone. But those old snots will not be convinced that easily. They will make up all kinds of excuses to fail me, he said, not caring about cursing the elders in front of his father. They might even use the black magic incident against me. Quote. True, Maverick pondered. I think I will need to ask my father to participate remotely. They will never dare to play dirty under his watchful eyes. Yes, but we need more, Adrian said. Let's leave the news about the circuit for last, he proposed. Oh, you want me to guide them by the nose? Maverick asked, raising one eyebrow as he got what his son meant. Yup, let's be low-key at first, then hit them with it when they are least expecting it, Adrian said with an evil smile. Maverick smiled moments later. Yup, this was a good idea.